I wanted to talk about Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah.
And he is a very, to some extent, sometimes controversial figure, but
Yeah.
definitely a very mystical figure,
Hmm.
mysterious kind of person,
Yeah.
right? And giving you an idea what was actually going on in India when the World War II was going on,
Yeah.
right? So I think that his birthday was a couple of days ago, and I went through a lot of stuff related to him, and it was easy for me because I've already gone through World War II.
Yeah.
So 1939 the war started, and he was a part of the National Congress Party at that time, led by mainly Mahatma Gandhi. And the party had a very simple motto: non-violence. They are not going to put out their arms, and they are not going to shed blood.
Yeah.
They are going to peacefully protest, which makes a lot of sense to a huge
Yeah.
extent. They are going to take what is theirs. They are not going to settle down for anything less, but also they are not going to take it by violence, because I think what they believed is that if you take it with violence, it is less stable. Maybe that was the idea, that if you take it without violence, it is more certain and long lasting. But whatever might be the idea, Subhash Chandra Bose thought that violence is necessary sometimes, and he was not the only one. You can see that the other part, like Bhagat Singh and all, went in a similar route. But what he thought is that since we are at war, and even half of Britain in 1939 was thinking that we should just make peace with Hitler. It makes a lot of sense. I think that he is going to defeat us all, and he's going to win. So why not just shake hands with him, right? And it was a different time. So Neville Chamberlain resigned, and then what was his name? Winston Churchill came into the office, and he said that I'm not going to talk to that man. But what rest of the world thought is that Britain is going to fall. And Hitler did not really wanted to destroy Britain. He wanted to make peace, because he's like the most racist person the history has ever seen. And he believed that white people are superior than everyone else, and UK is filled with white people. So he, for that reason, wanted to shake hands with them. And maybe the next step was to invade America and get them to have peace with them. So what people were thinking is that the Axis power is actually going to win this war. And like I said before, the Axis power comprised of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Pay attention to this because it is going to be useful very soon. So Subhash Chandra Bose at that time thought, see, I want to go with violence because I want to get freedom to this country before this war ends. If I don't get it, and probably we are going to stick like this for decades and decades, or maybe a century more. So he said that I need to do it fast. I need to do it with violence. Now let us look at the logic right now. I cannot go to France, USA, or any other democratic countries to ask for help to go against Britain. Does not make sense. They are alliance, right? So who do I look for? Okay, Germany is there, and that is where the controversy comes, because we have a handshake picture of Subhash Chandra Bose with Hitler.
Yeah.
And he even fought against Indians at Burma with the help of Japan, which was imperial at that time. So you need to understand the time we were in, which was completely different, and you need to understand that the decisions or the actions that he took, which was completely against the Nazi mentality, which I'm going to explain one by one. So in 1939, he decided that I'm going to do this, because of which, since he said in a speech that he needs, or we need as Indians, to take violence, he was thrown out of the party.
Yeah.
And so a couple of times, I think one time he went to jail, and then his health was degrading too much. Then he was set free so that he does not die, because a freedom fighter dies, he's even more powerful than he was when he was alive. So, and then he was in West Bengal, and then he escaped. So from West Bengal, he went to Afghanistan, and his plan actually was to go to Russia. Now this is why you need to have a little bit idea of World War II. So Hitler actually shook hands with Russia initially, and the pact was Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which was made in August 1939. So the way that it was going is we have the Axis power, the three countries, two fascist, one is imperial, and then it has shook hand with the communist country. So we have basically the biggest power that we have seen so far. So right now Germany and Russia are together. So he wants to go to Russia, generate an army over there, and then invade basically India, which would now have the army governed by British. So his plan was to get to Russia, get the support over there, and then get back to invade India and just wipe away Britain, because Britain was already having some problems or losing a lot of wars in North Africa at that time. So that is the way the world looked at that time, that they are going to kind of lose the war. London was bombarded, France was defeated. So that is how it looked at that time. So that was his idea. So he escaped to Afghanistan. Now Stalin at that time was thinking that Subhash Chandra Bose just might be a British spy trying to get in and get information. So he was not able to trust. So he was having a lot of problems at Afghanistan to get over there. But over time, he just walked into the German embassy and talked to the delegates over there, and they said that, okay, we can sort something out. And since Italy and Germany are having alliance, which was kind of till the end of the war, so they figured it out, and the Italians actually gave him a pass to get into Germany through Russia. So he got a transit visa through Russia and then finally got into Germany. Now here's the thing, India is kind of a big base for the British Empire. A huge amount of British army is actually made of Indians. Like you can see in a lot of cases, 1/3 of the army of Britishers are made from Indian armies that completely selected from India, right? So number one, if we can start a revolution over there or defeat that base, it would be not only strategically helpful, but also will be helpful number-wise. For number one, it is a strategic spot. It's a peninsula. It's a very important spot. And already their forces are, the Japan has conquered the Singapore and all. So it is a good spot to be. So Germany decided to support Subhash Chandra Bose. And they even gave him like an office, and he stayed over there. He actually married an Austrian woman. Her name was Emilia Schenko. And their daughter is still alive. Anita, the last name, I won't be able to pronounce. Try that, Pfaff. So, puff. Don't even try. Yeah, so she's still alive. And he stayed over there and even did some broadcasts, which was broadcasted in India through radio. That, okay, Subhash Chandra Bose is alive, because a lot of people were thinking that he actually went out to become a monk, or he just died or something, because he disappeared, right? So he finally stayed over there, and like I said, Britishers were losing a lot of wars in North Africa, and huge amount of their army was made of Indians. So the ones who lost became prisoners of war, POWs, and they were brought back to Germany. So Subhash Chandra Bose's idea was that I'm going to take these POWs and form the Indian army. They are Indian anyways, and he called it INA, Indian Nationalist Army. And we are going to launch the force through Russia, because we are going to come from top. But that's when Hitler made his own ideas of invading Russia. And now they went on to war in 1942. That's where they broke it. June, it was summer. That's what I remember. So that now that passage is gone, there's no way he's going to be able to invade India, right? But here's the thing about him that you need to admire, that he had nothing to do with the World War. He was not over there for the war. He was there for India. And he thought that there's no reason I'm going to stay over here anymore. I need to get to India. And if not through Russia, I'm going to get there through Japan, because Japan and Germany still had their alliance, right? So the Germans decided to send them through a U-boat, which is basically a submarine, right? So there were two submarines, halfway German submarine, and then they transferred it, and then Japanese submarine, and they got them to Singapore. So in 1942, another thing happened. Like I said, Britishers were losing like anything. Until United States joined, they were losing almost every war, apart from the Battle for London, right? So Singapore was gone. And over there were close to 150,000 men, British Army men. And out of that, close to 50 to 60,000 were composed of Indians. Understand the numbers. Like I said, a huge portion of British Army was made of Indians. So he got the numbers because the army that was in India at that time was close to 70,000. And that too, when they see somewhere around 50,000 Indians marching inside, a lot of them are going to change sides.
Yeah.
This happens all the time, right? Okay, so he got the numbers. Now it is left for him to go out there and invade India. And this is where he really played his military role. Understand, he does not have any military training. He did not go to any precise training as a general, right?
Yeah.
But it is his like sheer will. And that is what even the Japanese people admired about him. See, Japanese people are all about respect. They don't care about anything. And when a Japanese crowd or set of generals from Japan admire you or respect you, you are really doing something great. And they did. They actually called Subhash Chandra Bose as a true symbol or icon of a samurai.
Yeah.
Which is like the purest form of a warrior. So this is how it is going. So he went up from Singapore to Burma, which was at that time right at the border. Now it is all Bangladesh, and India has like a corner going out over there if you look at the map. But at that time it was pretty clear cut. You are at the gates of India, right? So he went over there, but that's when Japan started losing the war.
Yeah.
And America got into the war because they had bombarded Pearl Harbor. And America basically first started from the bottommost part, which is almost touching Australia. And Japanese people started to lose territory after territory.
Yeah.
And basically, Japanese army retreated. And Subhash Chandra Bose was left alone over there with his bunch of Indian men. And when they tried to invade, they basically lost. And when that happens, and at this point,